Welcome to Brokusatsu, two brothers' exploration of tokusatsu shows and related media. I'm Harry.
And I'm Sam, and I apologize to Square Enix for my review of Garo, because having seen the first episode, I know the shape that most of my jokes this season are going to be taking, and yeah, I'm going to be laying some bombs on him.
Are you joking that it's like a Square Enix thing?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I have not played Final Fantasy 15, but I have seen the screenshots of the Final Fantasy 15 cast driving around in their car, and having seen the cast of Garo, that is them.
I gotcha. Okay. Interesting take. But we're not getting to Garo right now. We're going to do our double coverage first in the episode.
Okay,
Yeah, so save Garo for now.
all right. I'm still feeling bad for Square Enix. They put out a lot of good games, a lot of shitty games too. Maybe I shouldn't feel that bad about Square Enix.
Square Enix, they get exactly the amount of praise they deserve, I think.
Okay, okay.
Kamen Rider Double, episodes 15 and 16, Flash of the F, starting with Robbery Rider. We start with Philip hotboxing at the tank.
Yeah, he has found the eye of the tiger. He is cutting weights. He turned the tank into a steaming room, and he is lifting weights, cutting weight to qualify for the mosquito weight boxer division in the, I'm assuming, local trading circuit.
Philip does not need to lose weight. He is a fucking noodle.
I mean, let's be fair. Most of the people who lock themselves in, rooms to sweat out weight or put on rubber suits, especially fucking high schoolers, no one should be doing that. That is, so I wrestled in high school. That is
Yeah.
the unhealthiest shit you could possibly be doing to a child.
You ran with garbage bags on, didn't you?
Oh, I didn't. I wrestled up a weight class. Also, I was JV, and I was terrible. Like, the person I could not beat in our wrestling team was the guy who accidentally pinned himself twice in the middle of a match, and who knocked himself out running into a wall and had to be dragged away on an EMT thing. And I could not beat that guy on our team.
High school is a war zone.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Philip is kind of just dazed, and he's having to get emergency medical treatment from his friends. And in his altered state, he does see what appears to be a cute little Dinobot standing in the corner.
Now, this did air after the movie, right? So we're supposed to know what that is?
Yeah, well, it's designed so that it's kind of a reveal for the show. They explain it, but yeah, the movie was intended to be put out first, so that was kind of a preview, so you get to see it.
Okay. Yeah, so we got the Dinobots jumping around and being all cute and adorable and marketable. And a new client shows up. Philip is up in the main room. Not sure why they're not, hiding him in the back room, especially because he is being hunted by an evil corporation.
I don't know. When it's important for the plot, he knows to hide, but then when it's not, he doesn't.
Well, it was kind of important this episode, though.
Well, I feel like the villains were kind of presuming that they were doing a better job at hiding, but instead Shotaro is the guy in charge of security, so he has a sometimes policy on hiding in the secret basement.
Mm-hmm.
He put a hat on the doorknob. That's how you know it's not a door.
Yes, so the new client is a femme fatale who is totally not going to betray the detective agency. She has said that she is a bank teller, and her bank was robbed by Kamen Rider.
Yeah, Kamen Rider is a menace, and she's going to capture him and force him to confess to all the terrible crimes that he's done. And Shotaro, sitting in front of the client, says, "Someone's claiming to be us?" In basically normal, he doesn't even really whisper it or cover his face. Shotaro.
Yeah, he's straight up transforming in front of her later on in this episode. Has he forgotten that he's supposed to have a secret identity?
Was there a thing where this lady knew that he was Kamen Rider, so she came to him specifically because she knew he'd get all riled up? Or is that, part of the conspiracy with the secret trap that's being woven in these episodes? Spoiler alert. Maybe it's just bad writing.
It might be bad writing, though. I do kind of... we'll get into this in a little bit, but Psycho is kind of the mastermind behind this whole plot that they're weaving to catch Shotaro and Philip, which is far too elaborate and well thought out to catch these two.
It's a good plot.
Exactly, but what I'm saying is she didn't need a good plot. An adequate plot would have been just fine.
She could have had a client go there and say, "Hey, I need you to have someone enter a fashion contest or something, and he needs to look exactly like this," and just show up a photo of Philip. And Chitaro's like, "Well, I guess we gotta do the job. Philip, go enter the contest."
But yeah, I kind of get the impression that Psycho. Well,
Oh my god! I just remember that actually happens in a later episode. It's a singing contest. All right.
well, so Psycho see? She saw Shitaro transform into Kamen Rider in an earlier episode when he was at the compound, right?
I'm not sure she saw him transform. Nazca definitely did. Kirihiko, our boy.
Yeah, and they are having better communications. This episode does show that the married couple is communicating better. I'm assuming that they went to a counselor. They talked through some of their issues. They're sharing more of their interpersonal lives. And
Well, by the end they're doing better, but at the start they're still pretty rough. And well, we'll get there. We'll get there. The fake Kamen Rider is hitting banks while basically going around yelling, "I'm Kamen Rider. That's who I am. This is my name. I confess to the crimes."
and then nearly gunning down cops. Like, the thing is, he has to nearly shoot the cops, just point the gun, haha, I'm going to kill you, you should duck right now.
Yeah, and this fight, he barely is able to tune into the crime-solving skills of the cops, where now they think it's Kamen Rider. So I guess Shotaro needs to worry about that with the level of crime fighting they've shown, which is almost on the level of polite asking.
Yeah, Back Scratcher Cop clearly knows that Shotaro knows Kamen Rider, and rides around in a motorcycle, rides around with some of Kamen Rider's gear, doesn't seem to know that Shotaro is Kamen Rider at all.
You better not be hiding him or something.
We get a flashback with the evil Kamen Rider holding up the bank teller. What's my name? It was a very Breaking Bad scene. You know, just, what's my name? Your name is Kamen Rider.
You damn right.
Mm-hmm.
Wakana, in the evil Sonozaki Manor, is kind of distracted because she's having one of those morality things that are somewhat troublesome to supervillains.
Mm-hmm. She is focusing more on her radio show. We get a little bit... I think we skipped over it in the beginning. Philip mentioned that Wakana was talking about weight training and cutting weight, so that was part of the reason he was doing his mosquito weight boxing.
Yeah, Phil actually said, I think, that he was investigating a little bit so he'd have something to talk with her about. They're friends now. It's nice.
Mm-hmm.
And so as Wakana walks off, Ryubi kind of cracks the whip with Psycho, saying, you know, like, someone needs to be responsible. Who are we? We are the family chosen by the planet.
Yeah, I picked up on that. So are they, like, hyper-environmentalists? Are they trying to eradicate humanity to leave the world in a pristine state for all, like, the memories, like the dinosaurs and stuff that they're building the memories of?
I can't go into the specifics, but they do have a specific goal. And I mean, as far as caring about the environment, remember that they also released, you know, plague WMDs and stuff like that.
They do release plague WMDs, and they do seem pretty dead set on knocking down all the renewable energy towers and plants, all the renewable energy facilities in the town. So, yeah, maybe not. And they do mention that they also cannot create new memories yet, that they're still working on that project.
I think I might have accidentally watched the scene in advance. I mentioned something like that in the movies, and you kind of went along because you barely pay attention during these shows, so I feel like I could make up a lot of these recaps, and you would just have to go along.
It's totally true. Like how you made up that the green text, it has been appearing all the time in the shows. No, it appeared first in the movies. I'm sticking with that answer.
It showed up in like 5 episodes. I went back and looked. It shows up in this episode.
Yeah, this episode was after the movie, so they introduced the green text flashing in Philip's Mind Palace in the movie, and then they just, you know, they're going forward with it.
I can't believe this is what's distracting you, because I'm sure your favorite thing ever is about to happen. When Shotaro tracks down the other rider...
And Philip was lying down. Philip
Yeah.
was lying down during a transformation. It is a glorious day.
Sam's gonna do a backflip, I wrote in my notes. So, there's a fight, a shootout, a long chase scene, and the other rider gets away, but he drops a little piece of metal, kind of token thing.
Yeah, it in a very suspicious manner, by the way. It seemed like he weaponized some kind of token, like he charged it up and fired it at him specifically so that Shotaro would be able to find it, and Shotaro, being the dummy he is, walked right into the trap.
Then on a rock wall, there's the client who just appears to be, trading for some reason, and Akiko kind of sprints up there. Good job, Akiko.
Yep, Spider Akiko.
Oh, Spider-Man, the game is so good. I really gotta get that to you.
Yay. And we get the femme fatale backstory dump, where it turns out that she was lying. Also, side note, she is totally cosplaying as Lara Croft in this scene.
Yeah, well, there's lots of cosplay because we've learned that the other, noble robber guy, like, they're a pair of kind of phantom thieves who send notices before they do the crimes and get in and get out with any bloodshed. And the guy later in the episode is shown to be hiding at the Sherwood apartment or something, so it's full on Batman level of obvious symbology.
Mm-hmm.
They're actually phantom thieves. They're partners, and the guy is now basically hooked on guy memories, and his crimes are getting more and more violent.
Yes, she approached the private detective agency to look for her partner when she recognized his body language as he was robbing the bank, which, good pull, lady, especially because they clearly have a different actor playing the guy inside the suit as opposed to her partner outside the suit.
Yeah, it's suit actor and face actor. Different things.
Mm-hmm.
Shotaro decides that he will take the case, even though she's a, wanted criminal. In return, his payment is going to be that they turn themselves in and, pay their debt to society or wherever.
I'm surprised Akiko doesn't stop him from this.
I feel like probably they get enough pay gigs that she has to let him do a couple dumbass jobs in between.
Mm-hmm. So they take the gym locker key, they find the location, and they, they go and ambush the site and walk straight into an ambush.
Like, they have to figure out some clues where it's an Apple pendant, and that was tracked down to a specific kind of locker key, and it's a location, and Philip kind of points out that all this data is coming together really fast, and they still have no idea why he's pretending to be Kamen Rider, or doing the crimes he's doing, and maybe they should think about it a bit more. And Shotaro's like, "No, we'll figure it out as we go along."
Out of curiosity, doesn't Kamen Rider mean masked rider?
Yeah, Kamen is just the word for mask, and rider is the American word for rider.
So, couldn't they just... is he actually lying when he calls himself Kamen Rider? I know...
Well, it's a specific title, It's like Begins Naito means Begins Night.
But still, Shotaro, he mentions that the city gave him the name Kamen Rider. So this guy is also... He wears a mask. He wears a mask. He rides a motorcycle. Isn't he kind of also a Kamen Rider?
In another series or in another version of this show, it would entirely make sense for him to be, hey, I'm a Kamen Rider armory or something like that. And that would totally be a thing. But if you're kind of a one-off villain, you generally don't get to be a Kamen Rider.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, they walk into a trap. The evil Kamen Rider is there. He's got a lot of the Syndicate thugs, and he also has a pair of Final Fantasy big bastards, Buster Swords.
Yeah, he's the arms dopant, and it's a pretty good Gaia memory. He's able to just pull out constant guns and stuff like that, turn his arms into huge swords, just flip around. He's doing a pretty good job with the fight. Double is barely able to start beating him.
Mm-hmm. I forget the exact order of operations here. Does Psycho take Akiko and the Femme Fatale hostage at this point?
It's the arms dopant that takes Akiko hostage and kind of tells Shotaro to drop his transformation. So Shotaro, he does his telepathic talking to Philip, saying, all right, we'll look like we're taking out our memories, but then it'll swap to Luna really quick, and we'll grab him with a bendy arm. But because this guy was briefed on how exactly the double driver worked by Psycho, he's able to predict this and kind of block the memory slot, which leaves Double in a half-transformed state and very vulnerable to being just knocked out.
Yes, he throws a kind of molten metal, epoxy thing to plug up the driver device, and he does it conveniently in a way that will perfectly block Shotaro from transforming into Kamen Rider, but that totally leaves Shotaro's slot open so that he can send it over to Philip to do some transforming in the back half of this double.
It's not that convenient. I mean, it makes sense.
It does. I mean, it doesn't not make sense, but as soon as it happens, you know what's going to happen.
Well, you know what's going to happen if you've seen the movie and you've seen the Fang memory. But
Oh, the movie presumably was the previous week.
well, not all the kids would have seen it. But anyway, then he says, "All right, I've taken you down. Now it's time to go get whoever's hiding in the tank." And Akiko says, "Oh no, you were going for Philip." And he says, "Exactory."
Mm-hmm.
I love gratuitous English in these shows. So Philip just kind of books out of there because, as Shotaro says, that's what's actually important. He's way too dangerous in the wrong hands, and he's gotta stay free. And he runs out. He's freaking out, trying to figure out the plan. And then Psycho confronts him at the fountain, saying, like, "It's time for you to come back to us, righto."
This is the start of the second episode. So the episode began with Philip having his mental breakdown and being confronted and trying to be evilly seduced by Psycho, who knows exactly who he is.
Ep 16, take back your partner. And Philip's like, Fury Road, just screaming at her, "I'm not property."
The tank comes in and Philip hops in and gets the hell away from there. The tank absorbs a couple of Psycho's shots. That is a tough fucking tank.
I forgot in rewatching the show how often that they use the tank. I feel like a lot of Kamen Riders have kind of secondary vehicles, but they don't get used very often. But in this show, they have a tank and they use it. Good job.
Yeah. And they're using it as a tank. They're using it to block lines of sight and absorb shots.
About in half of the episodes, the tank just shows up and slams the dopant out of the way in a very useful. But then, Philip is kind of running through the forest, dodging shots, crawling through the mud, and he sees Fang just hanging out a little bit near him, and he has a kind of traumatic flashback.
A traumatic flashback to the night where he met Shotaro and murdered all the thugs. Like, it's kind of a thing when Philip is transformed into his Fang Kamen Rider. He is very murdery.
It's a berserk mode. It like turns off his brain because as they reveal a little bit, it's kind of a last-ditch defense memory, just designed to keep him safe. So he puts it on using his own body, and he just murders everything in the area so that he is no longer threatened.
And of course, the existence of Fang, like, aside from just being a toy opportunity, like, it does kind of lead into other additional questions. Like, so if he's a memory and, he's kind of semi-sentient mobile, is the beetle camera, or is the flying beetle, is, like, the bat camera, are they also memories? Like,
they're pseudo-memories. Well, so basically, they're made of the same tech, they're just designed a little bit different. And yeah, all of those, I assume they're about as intelligent as an actual, beetle or spider or little hoppy dinosaur. As Philip is kind of in a real bad state, just passing out in the tank, trying to figure out what to do. Shotaro explains the whole deal to Akiko, how they first met the Fang memory when they were breaking out of the facility, and how Philip just swore off ever using it again because it was totally overriding his mind. And for a guy like Philip who values intellect and stuff more than anything else, something like this that just turns him into kind of a crazy beast is super terrible.
Mm-hmm. It's like when Beast on X-Men just like goes into his dark animalistic instincts and just wrecks shit for a few panels.
And as he explains the stark psychological torture, Akiko has a really cute image of a little memory on legs running around.
Mm-hmm. We flash back to the detective agency where we get a parade of all the creepy side characters.
Philip is having the worst day ever, and all the C-listers showing up does not really help.
Mm-hmm. We get the non-back Scratcher Cop, we get Santa, we get Watcherman. Watcherman let the police officer walk through the door first to get injured.
You let him take the bullet. Good job, Watcherman.
Well, it is his duty to serve and protect, so... And they kind of... What was the whole point of that scene? Did they convince him to go and get Fang and go and get Shotaro?
I feel like that scene doesn't have a point at all. It's just a little bit of showing that Philip is kind of on his own. So in the scene that actually matters, Philip goes and saves the client, who is being chased by cops, using the advanced technique of standing around a corner and waiting a little bit.
He probably calculated the exact angles and line of sight. It's I think Metal Gear. If you're standing in the exact perfect spot, then the guards on patrol will never see you.
The cops in Futo City are about at the level of genome soldiers. Yes, I will believe this. Yeah, Philip is talking with the client, trying to find out anything about the Armstopads, because they used to be partners, and he just needs some clue that'll talk him down and convince him to stop, but she realizes that he's more or less entirely brainwashed by the Gaia memory now. It's kind of drug-like elements have pretty much entirely taken him over. But even so, even though she doesn't think she'll be able to talk him down or do really anything to stop him, she still wants to meet him again and try, because they're partners, and that's the kind of thing you gotta do. Mm-hmm. And Philip, that affects Philip, because, he remembers that he's also got a partner.
I do really appreciate how much this episode just kicked Philip out of his comfort zone. Like, he's usually playing the Alfred, just the behind-the-scenes support. But this episode proves he can be a very effective field agent.
And on the other side of things, Shotaro is very logically always telling Philip, like, stay away, don't try to save us, just, protect yourself. Like, he tells Philip that if he shows back up, then he will never forgive him. But Philip is kind of forced to, as the supervillain is setting up a very supervillain-y death trap scene.
Yes.
Shotaro's dangling from a rope with a bunch of just kind of spikes and pointy pipes set to impale him.
Akiko is holding onto a rope with some very needlessly grimdark, bloody hands.
Well, it's a thing where it looks kind of jokey, like a total Batman setup, but then you realize that she's been holding on for so long that her hands are, like, bleeding and ragged. And Shotaro starts telling Akiko, it's everything's fine. I'm really glad I met you. I'm glad that I told you about your dead dad. And, everything's fine. And the scene kind of generally starts feeling a little threatening.
Mm-hmm. Philip, of course, shows up and declares that he is going to act first and plan later. And he starts murdering everyone.
Yeah, he activates the Fang memory. Which, like we saw in the movie, it is a mode where Philip is the body and Shotaro is the mind. And he just starts tearing through all the masquerade mooks nearby.
Now, just a quick kind of point. Is the Fang memory... Is this kind of considered the, the high-level ultimate power? I know that in a lot of these shows, there's like a second-level evolution or whatever of the Kamen Riders where they get their superpowers.
This is the mid-season upgrade. It's not the ultimate upgrade.
Okay.
Yeah. You've started to see some of the patterns in these shows. Yeah, they get more and more upgrades. Fang is not the ultimate mode.
Okay. But it's kind of a mid-season spike in power.
Yeah, it's one of the better ones because it fundamentally changes how the power works, and that Philip is now the body, and it expands it more so that both characters can be kind of out and about and active.
It also has a very logical reason why they don't want to use it all the time, and that it causes Philip to lose his mind.
Philip is just freaking out, just killing bunches of mooks and dudes. Armstopant, he tries to take Akiko hostage, but Philip and Fang are in full-on berserker mode, so he's about to tear through the both of them, when Shotaro has to dive into Philip's mindscape to snap him out of it. Mm-hmm. And it's a burning Gaia library. Kind of a very good visual.
Yeah. So Shotaro manages to talk Philip down. He gets him back on the same page, and then we will flash back to Philip standing with a blade right at Akiko's throat. But it turns out that they are in control once more.
So the whole point of the double in this thing is that Shotaro is basically there to snap Philip out of the Berserker Rages and get him to actually control the memory.
Yeah, the fight after that is incredibly brief. When they're back fully in control, they basically just one-shot the guy. They throw a knife, they kill all the rest of the mooks in a single throw, and they take out the arms dopant.
Yeah, with a special move that Shotaro decides to name, because he's that kind of dork. The same type of dork as us. And Psycho sees all this and is like, shit, I gotta get out of here.
Now, they are seeing... Psycho is not transformed at this moment. And Shotaro and Philip and Akiko, they've all met Psycho. So, do they now know that Psycho and her family are behind the evil Gaia memories?
Shotaro and Akiko saw Psycho when they were doing the investigative stuff at... Actually, I'm not sure if Shotaro directly saw Psycho. Akiko definitely did. There's some ambiguity, but I mean, At this point, they've definitely had a lot of clues that the Sonozaki family is behind some stuff.
So it can be assumed that they at least suspect the Sanozaki family from this point forward.
Yeah, the Sonozaki family is kind of known to be a bit questionable.
But yeah, there is a chase, and Philip and Shotaro are kind of kicking Psycho's ass. It's only when Nazca shows up, having mastered his super speed, that Psycho is able to escape.
Yep. All this time, Psycho wasn't sure what Kirihiko was up to, but he was just training on his own to try to impress her.
Yes. And it's a very touching moment between two young lovers. I really hope that they make their marriage work.
We'll have to see as the series progresses, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then the cops, they see Double save a kid, so he's instantly freed of all the crimes that he was suspected of. Good job, cops. And then Phil gets really fat because he's rebounding from the stuff from before, and also he's got a new thing to investigate, rice cakes.
Yes, the episode ends with some fat shaming.
And also it ends with, I mean, I guess if you're not paying close attention, you wouldn't know this is weird, but a strange blue beetle investigating the detective agency.
Oh, I thought that... Wasn't that Philip's beetle?
No, their beetle's kind of black and gray.
Oh, so that was a different beetle.
It's a different beetle.
Oh, I did not realize that.
Yeah, that's why I pointed it out.
Well, okay. Apparently I can't tell beetles apart either.
So, that was another very competent two-parter of Kamen Rider Double. And so, you said you wanted to use your plot speculation on Garo later, so we'll just go into my kind of question. So, this two-parter gets a lot deeper into the whole thing of showing guy memories as drugs and very addictive and terrible like that. The client, who you keep referring to as a femme fatale because there's only so many ways you can admit to yourself that you're not going to remember character names. Mm-hmm. She is desperate to kind of get her partner off of guy memories and kind of try to get him clean, get him to stop using it. And I do got to ask you, what do you think kind of rehab centers are like for supervillains and supervillain-based powers and stuff like that?
Well, in large part, I would imagine they would be combined with the prison system. Because if you have a addictive issue with a Gaia memory or other superpower thing, you're probably in prison going through rehab. And unfortunately, at least in the United States, the rehab centers in prisons are notoriously awful.
That assumes that the cops are... I feel like in a lot of these cases, the people get beaten in... I don't know, the cops probably don't have enough evidence to convict them of anything.
Well, at least in this specific case, like, Kamen Rider straight up said, hey, go find this unconscious guy. He was the guy behind all the bank robberies.
Okay, so there's a fair number of cases where they'd have to do it legally, but we've all seen comics where the rehab... When you try to rehabilitate a supervillain, you basically just throw him in a cell and wait for him to escape.
Yeah.
I'm talking about something a little bit more optimistic, a little bit more kind of hoping that there's a chance of fixing stuff. Like, for all these Toku shows, when people get mind-controlled by monsters for a week to indulge in their desires or whatever until they get beaten by beaten by Kamen Rider, what do you think those... Do you think they have meetings, you know?
I'm pulling up the 12 steps right now. So 12 steps program. Let's see how many of them apply to how many of these apply to supervillainy. You have to admit that you are powerless over the addictive substance. That definitely applies to Gaia memories or other various supervillainy. You have to come to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. That would apply to Kamen Rider. Yeah. Make a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understand him. Okay, that is starting to get a little tricky and theological here.
That's the thing. Like, AA is a very specifically Christian organization. It's one of those things that you don't think too much about, but they are... I've heard them kind of criticized where they go pretty strong with the whole prayer is one of the answers and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Do we think... I mean, if we're dealing in a universe with, like, superpowers and superpowered individuals, where you're literally trapping into the spirit of the earth to create monsters, can we assume that there is a god? Or is that something that we just straight up shouldn't get into?
That's a way bigger question here. I was just trying to get some fun jokes about, you know, people going to meetings with bad coffee saying, hello, my name is Joe, and a couple weeks ago I turned into a monster. Hi, Joe.
It has been 2 months. since my last transformation and bank robbery. The rubble is still warm, where my last attack was.
It's all about, keeping yourself safe, making choices, and trying to get your life together, and no longer having to get kicked in the face by a cyborg who's trading his humanity for the safety of all of civilization.
Step 8, oh god, Step 8 of the 12-step program is to make a list of all the persons we harmed and become willing to make amends to them all. Oh, that would be a very long list for some of these guys.
Asking the higher power to remove those shortcomings. I mean, that's exactly the memory break, right?
Yeah. So, can we assume that Kamen Rider is God in this situation? Is this a cult that is worshipping Kamen Rider as a higher power, saving them from the sins? Hey, let me count your sins.
Oh, this is getting weird. This is getting weird. Okay, let's go to Garo.
All right, Garo.
And I don't know. I might put in like a different. I might do another theme song here because I did one specific Kamen Rider double, and it depends on how lazy I am.
If you don't, you should definitely leave that explanation in, saying that you might put it in.
Oh, well, that's the way you do it. We're professional podcasters.
Heck yeah.
In that we don't get paid at all, and we in fact pay money to do this.
It's a very expensive hobby. Well, not that expensive. If we got maybe a few thousand.
You're into miniature wargaming.
Yeah. I mean, comparatively, this is like pennies. But all I'm saying is, like, until we get several dozen more gigs of data download every month, this is going to be a pretty cheap hobby.
So, Garo, you have, as stated before, seen the first series of Garo and about half of the second series.
Correct.
So you know the general deal.
Well, I mean, I did at one point. It's, straight through my brain. It's been at least 6 years since I've seen all that.
Where there's light, there's darkness. People being, shitty people means that horrors show up and possess them to do bad stuff. But as long as there's Makai Knights, they'll show up, kill the horrors, and save humanity. That, yada yada, you get it.
Mm-hmm.
I really love the opening song for The One Who Shines in the Darkness.
I, of course, skipped the intro.
You should listen to it at least once. The intro is it's just a lot of CGI stuff, doing shapes. You don't need to watch it or anything, but it's a good piece of music.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So our actual opening then, I guess the first thing you saw was our main character brutally murdering a woman on her wedding day.
Correct. We open with the protagonist skewering a bride and knocking her out a window.
Yeah, just tearing through the whole ceremony, kicking down tables, slapping away dudes, and being a real cool guy as he knocks her out the window and kills her off screen.
Mm-hmm.
I do worry, like, we sometimes summarize shows as "and then they fight," and because Garo they have a lot stronger focus on in-person live-action fighting, there's going to be a lot of "and then they fight," huh?
There's going to be a shit ton of "and then they fight." I mean, at least in this, we can say, he murdered a young woman in front of her friends and family. It was in a very public place. His face was completely exposed.
Yeah, although the thing, I guess, what's more of a fashion detail that when the cops are setting up the APB immediately after, they kind of repeat a couple times, the man is wearing a black leather long coat. He's a really huge nerd. Over.
Yeah, they kind of failed to mention the brass, chest plate he's also he's wearing. It's a very Mad Maxy style of personal armor that looks like he could have pulled out of a junkyard.
Well, the description works anyway, because the cops show up almost immediately with a bunch of dudes with guns and taser sticks and stuff. This is a very competent set of police, so of course they're probably not the good guys, are they?
No, they're not. By the way, they're also wearing skull helmets. That's
another good side.
They might be the baddies.
Oh, I love that skit.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's a big chase across several rooftops as our hero, martial arts fights dudes while specifically never killing them. There's one part where a guy goes in for a hit and he kind of falls off, and our main guy...
Yeah.
Oh, God, I forgot his name.
Yes! Oh, we're on the same page. Let's just call him Garo.
Here's the secret. I'm exactly as bad about Sam with all the name stuff. It's just I've seen the series before, so I've had more of a chance to learn them. But I gotta admit, I do not remember main guy's name. What was it?
Let's just go with main guy. We'll call him main guy for the rest of the series. There's only 26 episodes of it.
I'll look it up for next episode. But yeah, he fights. He does really well. He kind of just gets away at several points, but he is confronted by a female officer who has a dramatic kind of hat getting pulled off scene, so her hair flows out, and no, they got to point out she's a girl, but she's still super competent.
I have to assume that she is the love interest.
Yeah.
And she, as the love interest, she has him in her sights, but she does not just put two 9mm rounds into him. At least until the Garo main character, he leaps across to a separate building using his superpowers, and she does actually start to shoot at him. In fact, winging his ring at one point.
Yeah, she does realize that she has a ranged weapon, and she tries to fight him even when he gets further away than like 10 feet, which is better than a lot of the cops are doing.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he manages to get away from them eventually. By the way, the police in this town are called SG-1, which is just a lot of flashbacks to Stargate.
Maybe they were worried he was a Gould or something.
Mm-hmm. I'm hoping there's like an official crossover. This apparently is taking place in the future, so it's entirely possible.
To archive of your own. But no, he gets away. He kind of talks to Zaruba, his ring, which is, I think, in every Garo series.
Is that the one recurring character in every single series?
Yeah, because they do it in different time periods and stuff. Like, even the anime, Zaruba is always there when it's a Garo series. Occasionally it's like Zero, who's like a different knight, using different armors, and he has a different kind of ring guide type thing.
Mm-hmm.
But no, he's just talking. He sees a big floating hologram screen because it's the future a little bit, and there's no reports of the murder. There's something strange going on in the city.
We flash back to 12 hours earlier, when he is entering the city for the first time.
Just having a cool time with his buddy, who I guess he bummed a ride from.
Yeah, he actually, in this sequence, he seems just like a really fun, friendly, chill dude.
Yeah, when he's not murdering, he's actually really nice to other people. It does a lot more to kind of repair the character from the whole super sweet murder stuff from before. It's just him hanging out, singing along with the guy, talk about the city. And yeah, they do talk about how he's now heading to Vol City, an independent city-state in the forests of Japan, which is not a real thing. I looked it up.
I'm assuming it's the future when society is broken down into independent city-states, which, we're halfway there now.
I feel like this is almost a motif in Toku. I know the Skullman anime also has a thing where there's an independent city-state where there's, spoiler alert, monsters running around and stuff like that. But anyway, it's Vol City, and as they... Did you read the sign that the car goes by?
No.
I read the sign, and I feel like it's worth recounting here.
What does the sign say, Harry?
Right. Vol City makes extremely rapid development. Now, Vol City looks an absolutely gorgeous and near-future city. On the other hand, there are a magnificent nature and a cultural climate from season to season, and that's to season as one word. So the journey is an inexhaustibly fun. Vol City is also well known as the ancient ruins are buried in volcanic ash. Which of those facts do you think is going to become most relevant, Sam?
The fact that they built it on top of an Indian burial ground?
Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But no. That's the sign when we get some shots as an 8 Mile beat kind of starts coming on in the soundtrack. That there's very heavy security checking the passports of everybody coming in and out.
Yes. He manages to sneak by because, he's Batman. Just gets into the city no problem. He borrows some food from an old lady in the park. He compliments her for it.
He stole her sandwich.
Did he steal it from her? It looked like she gave it to him willingly because he was, so skinny. He needed some meat on those bones.
He views a couple places, the high school, the steakhouse, the weird people doing chess in the park, and then the big plot statue.
Yes, of a floating, creepy-looking lady who is probably the big bad of the season. I'm just going to put my flag in that right now.
Question mark. But no, he goes up to the statue, kind of listens to it, and he realizes that this city is crying. There's lots of crying cities.
Now, it has been some time since I've seen the first Garo series before. Is this a power that other Maki Knights have in their arsenal?
No, this guy has a couple extra little powers. God, I really feel bad that I forgot his name. Shit.
No, it's fine.
There's a
It's
chance
fine.
we
Just
may be getting...
live life as me, Harry. Don't call anyone by their name. Just say, "Hey, dude." Just refer to them as their title. People love being referred to as their title. It gives them an air of responsibility. Also, you don't have to remember the fucking names.
I get caught on the lot while I'm doing board games with people who I've just met, and I'll be like, all right, so next turn goes to the young lady, and I'll just like gesture to someone else, and she's like, you've forgotten my name, and I'm like, yes. Anyway, Crying City, and he also hears, with this weird hearing motif, that kind of a petal from a nearby wreath is filled with the dark thoughts of a bride who may or may not be a secret monster now.
Yeah, he just kind of picks up a petal off the ground and shoves it in his ear. In a shot that probably wasn't supposed to be as funny as it was.
But no, he then infiltrates the wedding. He pulls out the lighter, which he used to reveal that horrors are horrors. And, that's when he starts a murdering.
Mm-hmm.
There's another quick... They show kind of the whole scene of him tearing through the wedding again, but you hear his thoughts, where it's a lot professional. All right, this area's got too many civilians. I gotta make sure no one touches the blood. Where can I get her so that I am able to transform? Oh, out the window. And then he does it.
Yeah, it's a lot of character. It's strange. It feels like repairing a damaged character, but it's in the exact same episode that they introduce him. So they intentionally damaged him, and then they're building him back up, which is, I don't know. It's almost like the show is negging us a little bit, like knocking us down, so it can kind of build us back up again.
It's like the show knows that he's a smug, unlikable jackass, but they want to keep you invested, so they try to build him back up a little bit.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, he gets outside, murders the bride, then we flash forward a little bit to the future, and we see him attacked by the bouquet of flowers.
Yeah, turns out that the actual horror was in the wreath.
Mm-hmm. He probably should have figured that out after he stuck it in his ear, but hey, whatever.
Well, the whole specific thing is that he's kind of going a bit rogue on his own. He's not actually dealing with Zaruba, the ring guy, who's refusing to talk to him. So he doesn't get the little extra tips of information that would normally be told to him, like, oh, that's not actually the real body.
But he is saved by a demon hunter puppy and the rest of his Final Fantasy party.
Priest Barai, who's kind of a monster tamer for supernatural monsters, which is a super awesome concept.
And also a white mage.
And then also we meet Gilkai Silver, one of his other Makai Knight buddies.
Who is
and
the
a guy
thief.
with glasses.
And
yeah, the guy with glasses who is the archer.
Mm-hmm.
And as the episode closes, oh god, main character, I'll get the name soon, but he says he doesn't want to work with Priest Barai, but Priest Barai says, there's something wrong with the city. We got a whole TV show to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
And
I mean, he could probably have
where it ends.
He could probably have a few episodes of I don't want to join up angst before he finally is forced to.
Yeah, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the start of Garo, the one who shines in the darkness.
Yep. So I guess my plot speculation question is, who exactly is this kid? Like I said, it's been quite some time since I've seen the original Garo series. I'm presuming this is a relative or descendant of the main character of the previous series. In part because he has the same equipment, the same ring, etc., etc. Is trained up to be a Makai Knight. Am I pronouncing that right? I'm not sure why I care about that, and I don't care about literally anything else pronouncing right.
It's Makai Knight.
Makai Knight. Okay.
Well, I mean, Makai Knights, they're usually passed down, like, along bloodlines, but not always. And the first Garo series you saw, Zero, was specifically adopted because the guy, I guess, didn't have any kids.
Well, I'm going to guess, or my speculation is that this is the child of the first series Garo, especially because this appears to be in the future in a non-specified amount of time enough where him having been born and raised would make logical sense.
Ryuga. Okay, it's Ryuga. I had to Google it.
I will not remember that for at least 3 more episodes of this show.
Fair enough. It took you a while to stop calling Shotaro Kamen Rider.
Yep.
Alright. So, we are now... So, yeah. We're going a little bit deeper to tokusatsu fandom and stuff. And yeah, now 2 shows at a time.
Yes.
I think we'll do 1 episode of Garo and 2 episodes of Double, kind of like this one, next week. And our Gmail remains Brokusatsu at gmail.com. I sent myself an email there. It worked, so you can't send emails.
You had to send yourself a test email. We're not even getting enough spam to confirm that address works.
I'm slightly worried that the Decade movie commentary will get us fans, and I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about that. But for now, we are, next up we're going to see episode 2 of Garo, Gold Wave, and episodes 17 and 18 of Kamen Rider W, Farewell to N. Sam, have you ever wanted to just blow this whole popsicle stand and go somewhere else?
No, I'm quite fond of this popsicle stand. I spent a lot of time building it.